There we are. All right, you ready? All right. Performance on Demand podcast number 41 in
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Welcome to Performance on Demand podcast with Craig and Jeremy, where you will learn all things endurance sports from training and nutrition to mental strength. Everything you need and want to know in one place.
Welcome, everyone, to the Performance on Demand podcast. I am your host, Craig Willard, along with Jeremy Brown.
The Craig Willard.
The
Craig Willard.
The Craig Willard and that girl over there.
And
Jeremy.
that girl over there. Yeah.
What's up, Jeremy?
Hey. So here we are. Of course, this isn't going to come out for a week, but it is Christmas Eve. And
happy Christmas Eve last week.
Yeah, right. I hope everybody had a great Christmas Eve because we're here now and going to be there next week. So, and it's funny because around here it doesn't feel like Christmas Eve. I think I said this not long ago. We had all of our kids last weekend for our Christmas, and I dropped the kids off, and I'm on the way back, and I get a text that says the tree's down, and I'm like, oh shit, the tree fell down, and I'm like, okay, well, we'll put it up when I get back, whatever. And she's like, no, it's done. Like Christmas is over. We don't have Christmas decorations. So here it is.
It was.
Yeah, here it is. It's like, 2 days before Christmas, I'm driving down the road, like, wow, all these assholes still have their Christmas decorations out. I'm like, oh, never mind, it is. It's Christmas is not quite here yet. So.
Oh, wait a minute, Jeremy. I didn't record this. I'm sorry.
Shut up.
I'm just kidding.
I was like, damn it. That was your sign telling me to shut up. No, so Craig, we have a really cool guest on here today. We're actually lucky to get somebody we'll say of her status, right?
Yeah.
Especially Christmas Eve. Got a family and everything else. So without further ado, I want to introduce Jessica Myers. She's a professional triathlete, and it's going to be in. You got our applause.
I was just looking for it. I don't have it.
What?
You got it?
Yeah, I got it, but I'm not allowed to click the button. There we go. Yay! Okay, so
Google Hangouts.
So we have Jess Myers joining us today, and I've known Jess for coming up on 3 years now. I think I met you at camp, at RWB camp. I guess it's 3 years. So we've been best friends we've been like this for a long, long time.
We have.
So we've interacted, intermittently through the industry and just kind of kept in touch. And I think I forget, was it your brake that was rubbing at Galveston that one year?
Yeah, 2014. I raced Oceanside the week before, and I was like having this great power output, and everyone was passing me. And you have those days, and you think it's in your head, and then afterwards, I was like, oh, the brake definitely was rubbing, and then so then the next week I went to Galveston, and I thought I'd fixed it, but it was still rubbing. So Jeremy was so nice to come to my house. I'm from Houston. Came to my house and totally I think we just disengaged the brake.
We took the brake off, essentially.
I rode totally Flintstone style.
Yeah.
Galveston, like, this is gonna be interesting, but it worked. I had a good race there.
You had a great race, yeah. You had a great race. So she's trusted me with her life a time or two. That was essentially
just a time or two.
Yeah, just a time or two.
I don't know why you did that.
If she knew then what she knew now, she would not have let me.
She wouldn't have done it.
She'd be like, you know what? I'll just keep robbing this brake gauge.
You just called me. I would have told you.
Right. So we have Jess on here with us today, and I was speaking on it a minute ago, and Jess is someone that I admire just for being the person that she is, and her life experiences, and we'll get more into that. But not in any order. She's a veteran. She's a mother, pro triathlete, Team RWB ambassador, and I think she's got a new. I guess we'll call it an announcement that just. Oh, ow!
No, I'm not pregnant.
Damn it, she ruined it. No. Shout out to Mark. No. So.
Honey, I have something to tell you.
Yeah. Honey, you're gonna want to tune into this podcast that's coming out next Wednesday. Anyway, so we have her on here today because Craig, you and I, we both speak a lot on, the power of the mind and how experiences kind of mold who we are. We've been a lot into that here in the past couple of weeks as far as that goes. And I couldn't think of anybody else that has the life experiences that really could set them up for continued success over and over and over, both good and bad experiences, as we spoke on last week. And so, we got her on here. We're going to beat her up a little bit, have a little bit of fun, and I think it'll be good.
Sounds good. Let's roll with it.
Yeah, So one thing I wanted to know, I'll go straight for the deep shit right away.
Sure.
So having seen and done what you've seen and done, are your motivators in life now what they were 10 years ago?
10 years ago at this time, I had just come back from Iraq.
Okay.
And I think my biggest motivator, and it's, you had your podcast about fear, and one thing before I went to Iraq, I had qualified for my pro card many times, and I just kept declining it because I was this officer, an engineer officer at Fort Hood, and we worked really long hours, especially getting ready for a deployment, and I just didn't feel like that I could be a good pro. I didn't feel like I could do the training that would do it justice. And I'll never forget, I was sitting on the border between Kuwait and Iraq, and we were going to be the first unit in for OIF2, Operation Iraqi Freedom 2, the very first unit. And of course, the big scare then is IEDs, or what the media called roadside bombs. And I remember sitting there thinking, I think, Jeremy, you can probably understand a little about this. When you're facing something severe, you start making, if you're not religious, suddenly you become religious.
Right.
And you start making all these deals with God. And I remember it was totally dark, and we're in the desert in Kuwait, and I thought to myself, all right, God, if I
make it back.
Right, like if you let me do this, if you make me, come back whole, I promise I will not let fear deter me from things like being a pro triathlete. Because in the grand scheme of things, it's very small compared to the mission that was on hand. And what a silly thing to be afraid of. And I think that often we let our egos step in the way of what we can do. And so I think 10 years ago, my motivator was to not be fearful. I think at this point, my motivation's probably a little different. I think I've proven to myself that I'm not afraid to embarrass myself. So, because I've had bad races, and I'm not afraid to work hard. That's one thing that no matter what the outcome, that's a big thing I always teach my kids is you can't be afraid to work hard. I think now my motivation is that I have worked hard, and I know that I can still improve, and to be a good role model for my kids.
Right.
So I think that my children have definitely are probably more of a motivator than 10 years ago.
Okay, good. Yeah, and you have twins. How old are they?
They are 8.
Okay.
Boy-girl twins, yeah.
So technically they would be more of a motivator now than they were 10 years ago, because 10 years ago they weren't.
They weren't here.
Yes, exactly.
I'm no mathematician, but if I were, Google tells me that shit just doesn't line up.
Yeah, Google didn't work out. It didn't work out.
So I didn't realize you were at Fort Hood. And we again, we've known each other those 3 years. I did not realize you were stationed at Fort Hood. Were you first Cav or second ID?
No, I was actually 3 Corps.
Okay, 3 Corps, yeah.
Yeah, so there's an engineer company I was topographic engineering. Don't ask me how I ended up with that. But so I ended up I
didn't think they let blondes do that kind of stuff.
We made, when I was a platoon leader, I was production platoon, and we made all the maps and all the airspaces for every map on Fort Hood. And I'm kind of laughing to myself. I'm like, they're giving a lot of responsibility to this 22-year-old, blonde.
Right.
But luckily, we did pretty well.
Fort Hood, jeez, don't even bring that up. Let's move on. Fort Hood, wow. So, and those are all like really valid points. And I think that, and even in our fear podcast, we talked about how fear can be a motivator. And
right.
I think if handled and channeled correctly, it can be a powerful motivator.
Oh, absolutely.
And so that's cool to hear you say that, because you are at the top of the game. A lot of our listeners will look up to you as a pro and say, wow, she's really fast, she's this, she's that. But at the end of the day, I think just that statement alone shows, hey, I'm a normal person. Like, hey, I've got things. Like, I've got stuff going on. And even for me as an athlete myself and as a coach, that's inspiring to see that, because I was listening to a podcast the other day, and it was an actor, and he was talking about how people would walk up to him and they like stop him in the heat of the moment for stuff. And you may get this from time to time. And it's like, once someone who is a figure becomes humanized, then it's like, oh, wow, cool, yeah, okay, it's attainable, there, it's doable. So it then turns from admiration to inspiration, I think.
Oh, so, definitely.
So that's really 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 cool to hear. And so obviously being a mother of twins, how is that? I mean, I sit back and I laugh at some of the comments that you put out there and some of the things that your kids say in the videos and pictures. How is that? Are they as crazy as you?
Yes. I have no one to blame but myself. They both have pretty big personalities, and it's great. It's fun. I'm not going to sit there and pretend it's not exhausting,
right.
Especially the fighting. It's funny because you look at Facebook and you see these people and they just seem to have these perfect lives.
Everything's perfect, yes.
Everything's perfect.
Yes.
And I tell my friends, I hope that I never present that image, because it's not, it's hard. It's hard to work around twins. And is it fulfilling? Yes, but that doesn't mean that it's always easy. And there's not times that I want to take my kid and throw him
Don't. We will not be liable. We will not be an accomplice.
This will not be in a courtroom, and
But with that said, I know that these, to have a hand that you're going to make these little people successful in life, and gosh, no one's going to ever walk over my daughter. I fear for the man in her life.
That's a good thing. That is a good thing.
It is a good thing, and you have to step back and remind yourself of that. Gosh, it's not easy, but it's quite the ride for sure.
It is quite the ride, and Craig is a father himself. I think actually you're getting Ashlyn this evening.
Yes, I will. I'll pick her up in a couple hours. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So he's got his daughter, and of course Kendall. Now we have 5 between us, so we have 8 kids between the 3 of us on here. So we totally get it when you say the words exhausting, but exhilarating and all that stuff. Totally.
Well, I think it's good too for people to hear that. Sometimes people want things, but they like to. I don't want to say this the wrong way, but they sometimes just make an excuse to get out of it. And they may say, I've got 2 kids, or I have 3 kids. I just can't find a way to make all this work. And I think it's cool that you're able to do this with twins
at a high level.
And you know what? And
so you can do it.
It's really hard. I remember, my kids were premature, as often twins are, and so, really that first 6 months was a real rough go at it. And I had postpartum depression, which is a whole nother, factor.
Right.
Yeah, but it was funny because I was talking to, and Jeremy, her, Jessica Jacobs.
Yes, absolutely.
Her daughter was just about a year older than Rowan and Gwen. And I can remember being about, the twins were very young. Uh-oh. Speaking of which, someone just knocked on my door, and it might be them. I'm so sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
It's life.
Hey, this is live. This is real stuff. It's just the way it goes.
This is life. That was awesome.
Yeah. You never know. But
well, we have dogs interrupt. We have kids. We have everything interrupt. Exactly. It's just the way it is.
But she said to me, I remember the twins were very young, and I was exhausted, and I got pregnant when I was at the Olympic Training Center. So I had just turned pro, and I had all these great aspirations, and then I had these twins, and I just thought, this is never going to happen. I'm so tired. I don't sleep. I'm fat. It's just never going to happen. And I called her and I said, how do you do it? And she said to me, just very matter of fact, as an Army girl does, if you love it and you want to do it, you'll find time. Yeah. And she was absolutely right. And I realized I was kind of throwing a pity party for myself. and that I wasn't going to be great right off the bat, but I could improve a little at a time and see where that took me. And if that took me to not be a competitive pro, that's okay, because in the end, it really is the journey and challenging yourself. And and that was just such a great piece of advice, that if you really want to do it, you'll find the time. And it kind of goes back to that whole no excuse, you know?
Shut up and get it done.
Shut up and get it. You know what? Because a lot of times when you complain and you think about how hard it is, it just makes it more difficult.
Sure.
Yeah, it is. It becomes daunting, and and you're right. That is solid advice, and that's what I mean. Just the other night we were out having dinner, and this guy that owns this local Italian restaurant came up, and mutual friends. I'm gonna start coaching him, so on and so forth. He then brings his chef out. He sends his chef out and says, "Hey, go tell them you want to commit." So the chef walks up. Don't know the guy. He walks up and he says, "Hey, you know, this guy told me to go over here and tell I was going to commit. What am I committing to?" And I'm like, "Well, shit, he's doing Ironman Chattanooga next year, so I guess Ironman." And he goes, "Oh, no." So we got to talking, and basically the guy that owns the place wanted him to commit to getting back in shape. And, you know, the guy is one of the top chefs in Houston. He's like, "Look, I work 70 hours a week. I've got 2 kids, blah, blah, blah." And I sat there with them for maybe 10 minutes and gave him – I shot down every excuse he brought to the table. So now he's got 2 weeks to start doing these little small changes I've told him to implement, but it's one of those things is where, you know, he's either going to do it or he's not. If you want it bad enough, you'll do it. If you really, truly want to lose weight, if you really, truly want to get a better job, if you really, truly want anything, you just got to do it. And you're right. There are times where we'll fall kind of – Craig may speak on this from a mental aspect, but where we'll fall back into that hole. And it's so dark, we can hear people shouting from the other side of it, telling us, "Hey, just suck it up, push through, do what you got to do, be happy, blah, blah." But it's really hard when you're in there because you don't know how to leverage the power of what you want to do bad enough to make it a reality.
Right, and I think too a mistake people make is, you know, at that point when I was talking to Jess, is you see where you want to be and it seems so far away, and that's why you have milestones and you have small goals before that. You know, you just make that first step, and you make baby steps, kind of like what's the movie What About Bob?
Yeah.
You know, it's baby
Right.
steps to my bike, babies. And I can remember going out on a ride, it was like my first Mother's Day, and I think I rode 10 miles, and it just seemed like the hardest thing I'd ever done in my life. And, you know. But that's all part of it. Even for the top level pros, that's all part of it. It's hard right from the beginning, but it gets easier, and then you just got to get that momentum going and stick with it.
Well, and you mentioned it a minute ago too, and that's the sport that we do. It can be a daunting sport, endurance sports in general, because they're an investment sport. You wanted to be a top level pro. 5 years ago, I could have said, "Jess, are you a top-level pro?" Well, no, I'm not there yet, but I've got 3 years into building this product.
Right.
And I'm still working towards it. But what happens is a lot of, especially age groupers, will come in. You know how it is. They'll do their first race or two, and they just get that bug, and they just get so excited. And they want to go out and they want to win the next damn race they do. It's like, all right, and that's where goal setting comes in. It's like, okay, look, the investment you're making today, you get to withdraw down the road. But you can't make a withdrawal right now because your bank account's only about this big, right? Just teeny tiny. So you got to continue to invest, and a lot of times it's investing based on faith in it's going to pay off in the end, and that's really hard to do, especially nowadays with the age of the here and now. I want it now. I don't want to wait.
Instant gratification.
Yeah, but
I coach some athletes, and that's one thing I always say to them is, you know, they'll go, and a lot of times you have a lot of improvement right off the bat just because you're new to it. And then you kind of hit this plateau. Exactly. And one thing I always say is you're not going to see the fruits of this labor for sometimes 6 months to a year. And that's just part of the game. And, you know, even in Ironman, for a lot of times for me, it's right. I was injured actually when we met at RWB camp in 2013. I had a pretty serious injury then, and so then later that year when I did Ironman Arizona, I didn't have a particularly great race, but it's keeping perspective, recognizing that, you know what, I didn't get that work in that I would need to have deep fitness to be successful at this distance.
Right.
And recognizing that and really not beating yourself up about it and realizing it's a process and trusting that process.
Right. Yeah.
That's
absolutely.
Huge. Well, I had this analogy I was thinking about. Here we are. I'm in Kentucky, so there's horse farms all over the place, and some of these horse farms are huge, and they have fences all the way around them. And it's really easy for people when they start to say we're going to paint the fence over again. We have to repaint the fence. And we start and we get, maybe 6, 8, 10 hours in a day, and we look back and we're like, oh my God, that's all we've done. And then you look the other way at what you've got to do, and you're like, holy crap, I'm done. I mean, this is never going to get done. But if you just take it, as you said, it's a small goal. It's take the next post. Let's just get to the next post. And let's paint to that post. And then when we get to that post, let's paint to the next post. And then let's take this down into smaller chunks and recognize that, because it is. If you've ever noticed, some of these people, a lot of people actually, like, for example, C.T. Fletcher is somebody that I enjoy listening to. He's a bodybuilder. He's been doing, I command you to grow. But the thing about him is, if some of his YouTube videos and stuff, he talks. He says, you know what? He goes, y'all just know about me, but I've been doing this for 30 years. And so sometimes it just takes a certain period of time where it's like a pop. You don't see any growth, you don't see any development out of it, or you don't see something that you expect because you have an expectation that you're going to do something out of this training or whatever it is, and you get frustrated because you don't meet that expectation, so you want to quit versus going ahead and allowing people to, or allowing yourself to recognize that, hey, this takes time, but if I give my effort every single day, at one point it will pop and everything will come together.
Absolutely.
I'm plugging in my phone. Sorry,
I was going to say, do you have hardwood floors?
Yeah, sorry about that. I got the low battery sign.
No, I heard the floors, and I'm like, she must be going to get a charger or other headphones.
And the other thing I'd say, too, is, and I wrote a blog about this, I love the fact that when people say, I'm busy, no one usually questions you. So they say, I'm just too busy. I'm just too busy to do that. No one goes, well, what are you doing? Because usually when you ask someone who says they're busy what they're doing, many of them can't tell you what they're doing or why they're so busy. They just know that it's an immediate shutdown of whatever. Hey, you want to go run? You want to go down? You want to go take about a 25-mile bike ride? Nah, I'm busy today. Oh, okay. Well, maybe when you're not busy, we can go ride. And is to say that busy is more of an excuse, as you mentioned earlier, than it is. You're basically shutting down opportunity to grow and develop. And so, I just ask people to be cautious of using busy as a standard response, because it will leave opportunity on the table for you. But just my thought.
That's solid. Because I think you're right. It is. I have found, even as becoming an athlete again, I took almost a year off, and now I'm kind of getting back into Texas. It's easy for me to create an excuse. So easy for me to be like, no, I got a bunch of this stuff I got to do today. At the end of the day, I look back and say, what the hell did I do today? Oh, okay, so I wrote some training plans. Oh, okay, I put together, a marketing plan. Well, that's 3 hours. What about the other 6 hours of the day? Like, what was I doing? Oh, I don't know, on Facebook, or doing this, and it's. I think you're right. But it is so much easier to make that excuse from my perspective. It is, and that's something that even I get caught up in. And athletes get caught up in that all the time. And people in general, whether it's especially this time of year. It's a time of year where everything's just chaos. Everything's going everywhere. We feel like we got to do all this stuff. And, I'm looking forward to 2 weeks when it settles back down and everybody's back, kind of that normal.
Get back in the routine.
Yeah, routine is such a powerful thing, I think, especially in the sport. That routine, we're used to going to master's class Monday, Wednesday, Friday, spin sessions this day, yada, yada, and you create that habit, and we are creatures of habit. And for me at least, when I get out of that habit, it's like, whoa, what the hell's going on here? I'm not quite sure how to function because I don't have this organized chaos.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
And so that kind of brings me to my next question. Jess, if you could pinpoint one thing that you do that helps to allow you to eliminate those excuses, like if you had, is it a routine? Is it the mental game?
It's interesting because I've had this discussion many times with like my training partners. I actually have a harder time when I don't have a lot planned, just because when my day is pretty jam packed, I don't have time to think about it. I know that this is the only time that I have to do it.
Right.
So that means it's going to have to get done right then. And it really takes that ability to make excuses for yourself out of it. On the flip side, there's the days that I have just in 1 hour easy recovery ride, right? And the whole day will go by and I'll have literally done nothing, and I haven't done this ride.
Right.
I think that no one is immune to this. And so for me, obviously with children, the recovery aspect is difficult. I pick up my kids from school, and it's a whole nother job.
Right.
I'm not sitting around in recovery pump boots. I'm not going to get a massage. I am doing homework and shuttling from activities and
making
playing
dinner.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but
I'll try to get some credit.
I'm not gonna. I'll never be unauthentic.
Is the calendar your favorite? Is the calendar your best friend, basically? I mean, is it about scheduling?
Yeah,
is it scheduling your stuff and accordingly, and then following it and sticking to it?
Yes, I think that for me, it just really helps that on the one hand, yeah, it's difficult. I'm not getting that recovery in, but on the other hand, I'm just knocking it out. I'm getting it done, and I have at the end of the day, it's 8 o'clock. I'm going to be in bed by 9 because I know I can't be up late and expect to take care of kids and get the training in. So in a lot of ways, my very regimented schedule has worked to my benefit.
Right, absolutely. And you're right, it does throw, with the kids, because it's between, let's say 8 and 3 that you have to get done your sponsor obligations, your coaching, your training, your going to the grocery. Or if you don't cook, apparently you don't ever go to the fucking grocery, but whatever. So, not here to judge. But it does become, and I think that's something, for me personally, I have an issue with prioritization. It's okay, is this more important than this? Like, where's the priority with that? Is it do I need to sit down and do this Facebook marketing strategy, or do I need to go out and do my 90-minute recovery spin? And that's something that I struggle with, and I think other people do as well, is kind of what makes one thing more important than another thing. Obviously, your kids are number one. Anything involving them comes first, and then where does it go down from there as far as, let's say training, let's say, sponsor obligations, and let's say just kicking back, relaxing, personal time. Like where do those fall?
And then also it's compromised. There are times where I know I'm not going to be able to have that 90-minute recovery ride, but you know what? I can do 45 minutes.
Right.
And realizing it's all a moving target, and it is compromised, and it's adapting to what your life needs are, because the fact is that's just not going to change. And if you I'm regimented, but I'm not rigid. If it gets to a point where I have to choose one or another, well, then maybe I can have a little bit of both. So,
I think you said that very well, because you said a little bit of both, and what I take from that is something. When it comes to training, something is better than nothing.
Right.
It's better to have done a 30-minute spin than to just sit on your ass and do nothing.
Right, and then think about doing a 30-minute spin.
Right. So, with all that being said, we happen to have a mutual friend in Mark. How does that balance in there as well? Because now you've got obviously a boyfriend that doesn't live there yet. So you also have to create that was what I would consider personal time. And there's several athletes I know of that have similar situations, that maybe in new relationships and may have kids.
Yeah, he's just on the back burner.
Okay, hey, you know what? That's where you need to keep him. You need to keep him on the back burner. That's the only way to keep him under control, I believe.
We've been really fortunate. We've made it work, and he's spent extended time here, and luckily in a few weeks this problem is going to be alleviated, because he will be here. I think that he was worth it to me to make that time. And you know.
It's okay. We'll cut that part out of the interview so he won't hear that. We don't need Mark knowing all that shit.
He doesn't need to know how I really feel.
Yeah. Let's keep withholding that. Just keep holding out. So
I'm trying to play elusive. Is it working?
Yeah. So there's nothing elusive. Jess is like, and that's one thing I do like about you is that it's no bullshit. Like you don't have to guess. Well, is she being candid or is she being serious? You know how she?
Yeah, I always say people I only have one direction and it's straightforward.
Right.
You know, someone a long time ago came and asked me, well, did you mean this or did you whatever? And it was some sort of politics at the Olympic Training Center, and I don't remember specifics, but I just kind of looked at them. I looked at him dumbfounded, and I said, if I have a problem with you, you'll know it.
You'll be the first to know.
So, you know, there's never really a hidden agenda. It's pretty. Well, I'll just be a bitch up front. No,
yeah, and we can appreciate that. We can definitely appreciate that. So, does that mentality come from maybe the way you were raised, or does that come from you think your time at like West Point in the military, or is it kind of a combination?
I think it's a combination. I come from a large family of 5 kids. My dad, you know, was military as well, and I think that we resolve conflict by not being passive aggressive, but by being very straightforward. And it's not that we sat around and talked about our feelings. We're not like that at all. But on the other hand, if you want to be heard, you don't have time for the BS. And I hear the dog. And then
stupid dog.
I think with West Point and the Army, it's the same thing. You are being, you know, when you give an op order,
you have to be decisive.
Order, you're being very very decisive and giving clear direction, and that's how I operate. And you know, I think like in my dad's case, sometimes that can come off that they're kind of harsh, but I don't view it that way at all. I feel like I can appreciate someone just being very clear with me.
Don't waste my time. Just tell me what you want. How you want it done,
and not being ambiguous. And you know, and also with some of the coaches that I've had, I've done the best with coaches that were very straightforward. My college coach, when I qualified for the NCAA for the 10K and NCAA time, he said,
"What the hell just happened?"
What? I don't know what that.
He wrote down what I had never run the 10K on the track. And I was trying to qualify for NCAA.
That sounds like it sucks, by the way. 10K on the track.
Well, you know, here we do Ironman, so it's all relative, right?
There's like 47 laps in a circle.
It was 25 laps. But he wrote down exactly what I was going to run. And, you know, the thing is, I knew I was going to run exactly that because he was the type of coach. Because you have those coaches that are like, you did great. You look great. You're going to do great. And you know you suck. So so if I wasn't doing well, and he said, you know, I think you're going to have a hard time with this. On the flip side, when you're going to do this, I knew I could do it. He could instill confidence. So I hope that I'm that type of friend, that type of partner that gives it to you straight. And you don't have to be mean about it. There's certainly a way you can put things nicely, but I think I can appreciate personally someone just being very straightforward with me.
Right. Well, no, and that's very refreshing because, you know, nowadays it seems like everybody wants to be so PC with everything that, you know, I too can appreciate when someone's like, hey, it's X, Y, and Z. Here's how I feel. Here's why I feel that. We're done. Move forward. You know, and no matter if it's a personal or professional relationship, I've always appreciated that as a time saver, essentially. So you're not, you know, well, did they mean this? Well, they said this. Did they mean that? You know.
Right.
And that's a good coach too. If you have a coach because people want different things. You know, you have some athletes that, especially maybe in the beginning stages where they need a little bit of, hey, you know, they need a little confidence and they need the support. And then there's others who, like you, say, look, this is what you're going to do. This is what you need to do. They're very straightforward, and that's what motivates you. Whereas if I were to say that to someone else, that would might even destroy them or give them anxieties for going, oh my God, now I've got this expectation.
Well, I think there's. Well, let me just backtrack. At West Point, we would have this. The honor code is very big there. You will not lie, cheat, or steal, nor tolerate those who do. And so one of the the class, we would have these classes occasionally after lunch that would go over different things, and one of them in relation to the honor code was, okay, now let's say, you know, your girlfriend comes in, I'm not talking about Kindle obviously, but says, hey, do I look fat in this? Do I look fat in this? You know? So you're not supposed to.
I'm sorry, the service is cutting out. I got to get off here.
But the thing is, you don't have to sit there and say, yeah, honey, you look
heifer.
You look like a lard ass. You know? You can say, you know what?
That's not the best outfit for you.
But look, this I really like that other dress. You
know, that black looks really great.
There's nice ways to do things. I mean, you can be PC and be straightforward. Sure, you don't have to be cruel. You know, being straightforward doesn't give you the excuse of being a raging bitch. But you know, so it is a fine line. But
Absolutely.
I do think it's important to instill confidence in whatever method you choose as a coach.
That's a good point.
And I think those points are what I see as the art of human communication. You know, of human interaction, because you can be straightforward with someone and not come off like an asshole. You know, there is a good way to place it so that you don't hurt feelings, but to get your point across. And so
Absolutely.
I think that's an art form, and you'll see some people that are really good at it. You know, they can tell you to go F yourself and still smile, and you're good with it, and then other times it's not as good. So that's always.
Well, I think it's also, you know, coming from West Point, it's also part of leadership.
Right. No,
it's being a good leader, and you know, the thing is, you never want morale down. That's in athletes, that's in soldiers. You don't want morale down. How do you keep morale up and maximize performance?
Right. So I wish I could quote that shit. That's solid.
That's gold, baby.
That's gold, baby.
Let me write this time down so I can quote this.
You better send her a check.
I need to write a book, I tell you what.
I know, right? So another question I had, or another thought I had is so you've done a lot to this point, right? You've got a lot of life experience. What's next? Like in the next 5 years, it's always one of those fun cliche type questions. But in the next 5 years, for you personally, what's your next experiences?
You know, I am at that point where I'm winding down on triathlon, and don't get me wrong. When I say I'm winding down, that doesn't mean I'm not going after my training hardcore. If I'm showing up, I'm gonna show up to the best of my ability. That's one thing that if I'm gonna do it, I might as well try to do it well, right?
Right.
But you know, I'm kind of at the crossroads right now as far as what am I gonna do next? My background's engineering. I don't see myself going to a desk job at this point. I've had a taste of real life, and I don't see me going back to corporate America. But you know, there's an office here for USACE, U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I thought about that. In a perfect world, I would somehow incorporate my triathlon experience into some sort of business model. What that is, I'm not quite sure yet. If it's some sort of coaching, I enjoy coaching, but I can see myself doing something a little more than that. And I'm not quite sure what that is. So when I find out, I will let you know.
That was the best and most eloquent sidestep I've ever heard in a question. I applaud you for that.
It's been practiced.
Well, but that's the thing though, is that I can appreciate that because it's very free. It's like, shit, I don't know what's next, but I know something's next. You know, and I'm okay with whatever it ends up being. So let's talk about the more immediate future. Let's say the next year, next season, because I know, and I don't know if it's official yet, but I know of
it is official.
Of a really cool partnership that just happens to be between a couple of friends and a really cool team. So you want to tell us a little bit about that opportunity?
Yeah, so I went ahead and I signed with Maverick Multisport, which I'm super excited about. They have a phenomenal pro team, and they're completely supportive, it just lets go of a lot of stress on my end. If I had, a list of everything that I needed for 2016, they provided it.
Done. Yep.
And what that also means, though, for me, is it means more racing. I haven't raced a whole lot the last 2 years. A big part of that was injury. Not to get too personal, but who are we kidding? I got divorced in 2012, and my performance dropped in 2013 and 2014, and there's a reason why. If you're not emotionally in a good place,
yes,
it's going to take an effect on your performance. That's just life. And but the good thing is with Maverick is, personally, I do well with accountability, and so signing with him requires me to race more, which I'm actually very excited to do. Right. I'm not going to do this forever. And I like that. I like that in the back of the head, back in my head, I'm answering to someone, and that I owe it to them. And
it gives you the framework.
Sponsored. What's that?
It gives you like the framework and the structure to say, okay, now I got to go do it.
Right. Well, you know what? There's a lot of people who are putting their trust and faith in me, and I'm one of those people. It's kind of like when you are a platoon leader in EXO and people are looking at you, you don't want to let them down.
Right.
You're going to work your hardest. It's
that's where the fear. That's where the fear becomes the driver.
Yes,
not letting
absolutely.
That's where it becomes the driver.
I don't want to let these people down. I owe it to them to do the best that I can.
Right.
So
absolutely. So I happen to know Chris Hutchins very well. We will not speak of him in a negative or positive tone this week because it is the UK Louisville game this weekend, and he's a diehard Louisville fan. I anticipate, and by the time this comes out, it'll be after the game, but I anticipate getting a lot of nasty texts Saturday.
That's
and,
right.
There should probably be a lot of jokes about lime beards and flat bills. And so anyway, he's a diehard basketball fan for the arch nemesis. So that's actually how he and I met. I guess about 3 years ago was through Cobb Cycling, and then it was like, oh, you're UK fan, I'm a UL fan. Okay, well, screw you too, and it's been a lot of fun since. So Chris is a great guy. They have a hell of a team. I've in the positions I was in with BSX and with Cobb, supported their team for the past couple seasons, got to know their athletes very well. So I think not only will you have a great time, you'll thrive there. I mean, it's a really
I
really
think so too.
Thing.
I'm very excited. The one sponsor I was really sad to leave was Core Sports.
Yeah.
I just think that they are, they're very new. They're very supportive of pros, especially, and they're unique in that they are really targeting women. And
right.
I think that especially with the debate of equality, that's very refreshing. And that was the one sponsor that was difficult for me to leave, but in the grand scheme of things for my family, this was the move I needed to make. But I do really, really love them, and I'm wishing nothing but continued support and success. So
yeah, I know Haley Manning very well. So I met her through Cobb as well, and I what they're doing, I agree. They make good quality clothes, and it's a really great product and a really great message, and
exactly.
essentially support structure for females in the sport. So that's
exactly.
really good to see. So where can we find you at races in the first half of the year? Have you picked that out yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so first half of the year, I will be guiding Patricia in March.
Yeah. Tell us about that.
So Patricia Walsh, who you absolutely need on your show at some point. She is just
make it happen. I'd love to chat with her.
As interesting as I am, she's even more interesting. No,
can we quote that, Craig? We need to clip that out.
Oh, it is recorded. So
yeah. So Patricia, last year I went and did South Africa, and I actually got sick while in South Africa, and I still did the race, and I didn't have the race that I think that I could have.
Did you drink the water?
I really don't know. It was the day before. I'm sure I did drink the. I don't know. I heard later a lot of people got sick. You're in South Africa, so who knows? I mean, there's so many things I could have gotten sick with. But I did the race. I came back. I had a very short turnaround before Ironman Texas. Went and did Ironman Texas. Had a great swim, great bike. On the run at about mile 16, I was like, I just don't want to do this anymore.
You look like shit on the last half of the run. I will say that. I saw you on the course. You look like absolute hammer dog shit.
Yeah, I was not myself, and I think that a lot of that was South Africa. I think a lot of it was, I went through this in my head. I said, if this is what it takes to get to Kona, I don't want to go to Kona.
Okay, yeah.
You know, like that sounds really great. Kona sounds really great on paper, but when you're actually going in this points chase, it sucks, you know. And I was like, you know what, this is not why I decided to be a pro triathlete, you know.
Right.
And so, so at that point, I really kind of was disheartened and just took a step back. And it was around that time, Carolyn Gaynor, who you know, she's been guiding. Awesome. Right, she's been guiding triathletes for years, and she's also part of RWB. And because obviously there's a lot of visually impaired athletes in RWB, and she came to me and she said, this girl, Patricia Walsh, is trying to go to Rio, and she might be looking for a new guide. Is this something that you would be interested in? And it took me about a nanosecond to say yes. I mean, I think at that time it's exactly what I needed. Right. I wanted to continue to race because I love to race. I love triathlon, but I needed to change it up. And at that point, we linked together, and it's just been a really good partnership. We just mesh really well together. And at that point, we raced a few races, and I'll be her guide hopefully through Rio. That's her big qualifier. So so I'll be guiding her at nationals in March. Then I'll go to Galveston. So
we'll see.
Yeah,
you'll see me in Galveston. Absolutely.
And then I may or might not do New Orleans the week after.
Okay.
Because I might be at RWB camp. We're still trying to figure that out. And then I'll go back to Ironman Texas. I have unfinished business there. So.
Of course you do. Well, all I ask is that as you pass me on the run course out there, just throw some motivation away, because I'm sure it'll be a dark tunnel that I'm in at that point in time.
I don't think she'll be waiting to the run to pass you.
No,
it's 3 loops.
It's 3 loops, and so.
Oh, okay. Well.
So, you know, I'm gonna come by. I'm gonna slap your ass.
She will pass me at least 2 times. I'm just gonna throw that out there for the record. So, and actually, I think as of right now, Craig's planning to come down for Ironman Texas again.
I'll be there.
Possibly.
I'll be there. Yep.
So he'll be coming down, and we're probably gonna have another little small get-together event the week of. So we'll keep you posted on that as well.
Yeah, and Mark's. Oh, never mind. Mark's racing. He doesn't want me to tell people because he's afraid Ironman won't let him do it.
Well, we've got all 6 of our listeners
6 or 7,
will not tell anybody. Trust me.
Good.
So
Good.
yeah, I thought he was racing. I don't know that I ever confirmed that with him, but good. So we'll look forward to seeing you guys down there. Allegedly. He's probably racing under some alias of like Mark Allen or something, right? So.
Right.
Awesome. So we definitely look forward to seeing you first half this year. How can people get in touch with you if they want to get in touch with you? And now, especially now, you know, you're with Maverick. How can they show you support? And that's one thing I will take just a quick second to do a selfish plug here, because I have been around the pros of the sport for a few years now, and you know, this is kind of directed to all the listeners, but you know, there are races that support the pros, don't support the pros. It doesn't matter what races do. You need to support the pros, like their pages, interact with them. I mean, you'll see Jessica's as real as it comes. We've had some other, Pat Evo, as real as it comes. I mean, these are genuine, down-to-earth people who are obviously gifted and talented, but you know, they do the exact same thing we do. They just get the luxury, or I say the luxury, the opportunity, not really the luxury, to do it on a higher level. And so support them. Go support their sponsors. Interact with them. You know, all of them have discount codes for something. If you need product, connect with one of them. You know, that's how you guys continue to make it in the sport, and how you can continue to chase that dream and to do the things you want to do. So just to our listeners, go like Jessica's page. I think you actually have a brand new Facebook page thanks to your new marketing agent. And I told him I was the second person to like it after him, and I'm like, what did I win? He's like, no, you got to beat me to it. Like, that's bullshit. You just made the page. How can I beat you to it? So go like her Facebook page, interact with her, and obviously she's a lot of fun, so just support her.
Yeah, and if there's any sponsors you want to call out, just call whatever you need to out. This is your place.
Yeah, so take a look at Maverick Multisport. We have an incredible lineup. Argon, Envy, help me out, Cobb Cycling.
BSX maybe. I don't know who they're back. I don't know who they're back with this year.
Swift. I swear I'll know this, Chris Hutchins, by next year. Off the top, I'll be able to rattle it off.
Well, you got like 7 days. You better get to study.
I know. But no, they're all written there. But my Twitter's Jess Jones Try, so is my Instagram, and I'm pretty active on Facebook. I'm pretty good at messaging people back. Although I do get some creepy messages every now and then. So if you like,
I should have brought that up. I should have asked if you've had any of those like awkward "you're a professional superstar" moments. That would have been a great question.
I'm not like that. But I do. I get these Facebook messages, and I'm just like, what like,
hell?
No. This is a little awkward. I'm accessible, but that doesn't mean you get to, send a dick shot,
There goes.
Nailed it. I'm glad she said.
Am I right or am I right?
No, you're right. I'm glad that she said the D word before you and I ever did. We've said some bad words on here, but she beat us to it.
We've not used that one yet.
That's why we like Jess Jones, right there.
Oh, she just lets it go.
No further explanation needed.
Like the guys that send her the picture, they just let it out.
Yeah, just let it rip. Just let it rip. Well, Craig, you wanna throw her to the gauntlet real quick? Here we go.
You ready to do it?
Let's do it.
What time is it? Question time.
Uh-oh.
I get embarrassed with that every time. All right.
I know.
3 questions.
Sorry, we're going to ask 3 questions, and we all have to answer them. I'm just going to ask them in order because they're just here. What is the longest time that you have gone without sleep?
Ooh. That's a good question to ask someone in the military.
Oh, gosh.
That's a solid.
36 hours?
Wow. I thought mine was pretty cool, but
That's
30.
Dangerous.
That's dangerous. I mean, that's
dangerous.
lack of function.
Yeah, that's not a good idea. You gotta put in a rest cycle in there for sure.
Jeremy?
Mine's probably gonna be, I would say, 24 to 30. I don't know if I ever went 36. That's insane. But I know 24 for a fact, like without a doubt. That's been happened many times.
In 2010, we went live with a new medical record system at our hospital, and I went 17 hours working straight. But I didn't leave the hospital, and for me, that's not common, and it killed me. 36 hours, I could not imagine.
Now I'm thinking, maybe I'm wrong.
Home.
Maybe it wasn't 36. I don't know.
I could not get home. I couldn't hardly get home because I was so tired. I just couldn't process anything.
Yeah, you just get that fog, and you basically just disappear.
Oh, for sure.
I can remember being out on some patrols and stuff out in Fort Hood, out in the middle of freaking nowhere, and you don't really get the option to sleep, right? You just do it. It's one of those things where it's not like you think about, man, I'd love to have sleep. It's like, fuck, I can't fall asleep. Let me chew on this coffee that's in my freaking MRE. Let me put it under my tongue because that works. It's like, yeah.
All right, next question. Describe something that happened to you for which you have no explanation.
Oh, shit.
No explanation?
Yeah, you don't know how it happened. You don't know why, but it happened.
Oh, gosh.
It is a tough one.
Like physical or?
What you name it, this is your podium.
Hey, we're asking the questions.
That's right. There's rules here.
Oh gosh, I don't know if I believe in that though. I feel like everything's
explainable.
That's pretty tricky.
I don't think I'm overly religious, but I think I've been in too many sticky situations to not realize that there might be someone else or something else in play that is looking out for you.
Usually it's me that gets my ass in those sticky situations. I know how I get there.
Right.
Like, there's no doubt about that.
Actually, I don't know how I got pregnant with twins.
It's a damnedest thing.
This is a weird. It just happened. I don't know.
What?
Oh, shit. All right, Craig, I think you should replace that question. That's a tough one. Do you have one?
Jeremy, do you have one?
I don't.
I actually do have one.
Okay, go for it.
I want to hear this.
It's kind of funny. It's real funny because I have no explanation of how I graduated high school. And I'm not quite sure the counselors and the principals didn't say, "Get him out of here.
We're done with this.
Done. We're done." I don't know how I did it. I don't. In fact, I'm almost positive that I graduated. So I remember this like it's my job. I remember my junior year of high school failing British Lit. Well, I just didn't do anything in there. So the next year I had to do work at the University of Kentucky through just home studies to get that credit in order to graduate. Okay. And so there was 2 sections that I had to do, and I only did the first section. I never did the second section. Never even applied for it. And so it's like doing half the year of school. Right. I don't know how I graduated.
It's funny you say that though, because you're a freaking PhD student now.
I know, right?
And Jessica can maybe attest to this. And we talked about it when we kind of talked about, we did our individual interviews. It's the person we were 15, 20 years ago is nowhere close to the person we are now. I don't know how I lived through some of those situations.
I like my 15 to 20 years ago self better than now.
Oh, no.
I was like, wait a minute.
I'm just kidding. She must be at the core.
No way in hell. No way in hell. All right, Craig, last one.
Let's see. What is the habit you are the most proudest? What is the habit you are proudest of breaking?
Oh, this is so easy.
Do it. You should wait to go last, actually, now that you're that excited.
No, I can't keep this in. Okay. This is a little fact about me. I sucked my thumb till I was 12 years old.
Whoa.
In 364 days. I grew up, and my parents tried everything. They bribed me. They took me to the dentist, and I got this metal device put in my mouth. They would wrap my hand at night. I would not stop sucking my thumb.
Wow.
And then it was the day before my 13th birthday, and my mom came in to say good night, and I'm sitting there sucking my thumb, and she says, Jessica, do you really want to be a teenager that sucks her thumb?
Ooh.
And I sat there and I thought, no, I don't.
Actually,
no.
I
took my thumb out of my mouth and I never sucked it again.
Wow.
It's cold turkey. And, so that's the power of the mind. When you want to do it, you'll make it happen.
Did you want to afterwards, or was it not even a thought at that point?
I think I got the urge every now and then. I still do. Just kidding.
She's like this on
the interview. No, she's like, hold on a minute.
No, but here's what's funny is that my thumb is deformed because of it.
Oh.
So yeah, so I have like I always tell people I'd give you 2 thumbs up, but I can't. I can give you a thumb and a half. So, but it's the reminder that But yeah, that's a habit I'm proud of breaking.
Very awesome. Well, I'm glad you broke that habit.
I don't know how the hell I'm going to follow that.
It's tough.
Jeremy?
Mine's very simple. Mine's biting my fingernails. I bit my fingernails for years, and like your parents, my mom would she would put Tabasco sauce on them.
Oh, I did that, yeah.
Yeah, and I apparently learned to love Tabasco sauce because it didn't change. So that's a habit. It took me a long, long time to break, but it's not near as exciting as the thumb sucking one. I wish it were better. Craig?
Mine would have to be when I was 16. I got really bored, and for some reason, I picked up a pack of cigarettes.
Oh, yeah.
And I smoked for 6 years. And when I was 21, I went in to the doctor. Back then, we had these urgent clinics, and I went in. I got walking pneumonia and mono in like the same month, back to back.
Ooh,
and my doctor just said, dude, I'm gonna tell you, next time I see you, it's gonna be in the hospital because your body's completely rejecting the cigarette smoke. And so as I walked out the door, I took a pack of cigarettes, threw them out in the trash, and I never touched them again. In fact, I even challenged myself by people would come over to my house to smoke, or like they would come over to my house, they'd grab a cigarette because I smoked in the house. And I told them to continue to do it because I needed that urge, and I needed to be able to conquer that urge to smoke so that I could ensure that I nailed that coffin shut, and I did. And of course, I've never touched them since. It was a really bad habit. I'm extremely happy that I broke it.
Me too.
Yeah.
No doubt. So thumb sucker, nail biter, and smoker.
What a combination.
Jesus. Well, Jess, thank you for coming on today. It's been a lot of fun.
Thank you. It was fun. Thanks for having me.
We always appreciate having visitors on here because at times we just ramble on about the seemingly same shit, and we have a lot of fun doing it. But it's always good to have kind of a third party and bring a different perspective and someone that has different experiences and different thoughts.
For sure.
And thank you, too, from all our listeners and us. Thank you for providing your services to this country. We really appreciate that.
Oh,
absolutely.
Thank you. And everyone, I hope everyone has a happy holiday.
You too.
That was
Thanks
last week. The holiday would be last
right.
week. By the time this goes live, it's over.
Glad you had a happy holiday.
New Year's. Happy New Year's. Happy New Year, everybody.
So if you want to get a hold of us, performanceondemandpodcast@gmail.com. You can also find Jeremy over there at mindrightmultisport.com or me at u-discover.com. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Check us out over there on the YouTube. And also
you can find us
on iTunes, Twitter, Stitcher, Dasher, Dancer, Prancer, and Donner. Whatever.
Rudolph never gets to play those games.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for listening. Take care.
Okay. See y'all. Bye.
Bye.